Very much for joining today. My name is Ed Weigel, and I'm part of the partnership team here at Adwerx, and I'm incredibly excited to present to everyone today. This is one of the better turnouts I've had, so I'm really excited that you guys are so enthusiastic about learning more about Adwerx, and particularly today about your sphere of influence and how to get more out of your sphere. First off, just a couple quick housekeeping items. If at any point during this webinar, you guys either cannot hear me or for some reason can't see my screen, please let me know in the question box and I will do what I can to address that. This is being recorded and will later be hosted for, if there was something that you feel like you missed, you can go back and watch it. And it's also to be able to share it out to folks that weren't able to join. So for that reason, I will hold most of the questions until the end, but if you have any questions, feel free to go ahead and type them in, and that way I can get to them during the Q&A portion at the end. With that being said, I'm going to go ahead and get started here. So as I mentioned, my name is Ed Weigel. Really excited to have you guys today. And we are going to talk about getting more out of your sphere. So what we'll learn is who is in your sphere of influence. We'll talk about why they're important. And towards the end, we'll talk about what tools you can use to stay in front of your sphere, obviously also including an Adwork tool. So what is a sphere of influence? Well, there are several terms that kind of get thrown around. Sphere of influence, or SOI, database, list. A lot of folks call it a lot of different things, but they're not really as interchangeable as what you may think they are. So your database really needs to be bigger than your sphere. Your database should be essentially everyone that you've ever made contact with, while your it should be everyone you've ever made contact with. It should be people that you have not done business with yet. It should be your social contacts, your community contacts, all of the leads that you have or leads that get dropped into your plate. That should be your database. Whereas your sphere, it should be a smaller segment. It should be friends, family, past clients, and referral partners. And why this matters is that 65% of buyers tend to use an agent that was referred to them by a friend, family, neighbor, or relative. And so this is where I'm going to kind of throw numbers at you for a second. I'm curious how many people on the call have something in their email signature that sounds like, "I welcome your referrals," or "Your referrals would mean the world to me," or "Recommend me to a friend." I've seen a lot of different variations of that out there, and I imagine quite a few of you, and feel free to chime in the chat window if you'd like, have something like that in your signature. I'd even love to know how you'd word it. And the reason why is because that 65% up there is even higher when you isolate the demographic that everyone kind of tends to love and fear and talk about all the time. So I'm talking about millennials. Millennials currently represent 32% of home buyers, and when they're looking for advice or information, they tend to always go to their friends and their peers first. So closer to half of millennials found their real estate agents through a friend, neighbor, or relative, and 72% of millennial sellers only contacted one agent. So speaking of millennials, they weren't around 30 years ago. So this is something that they've never experienced, and I would imagine a lot of people on this call haven't experienced this either. But some of you may have been in the business for a while, and some of you may be a bit more fresh. So historically, let's take a quick look at what nurturing used to look like. So it used to be phone calls, postcards, pop-bys, client appreciation events. Maybe you organized a happy hour for them. And those are still great, but in today's world, it's really all of those plus a lot of really cool digital things that we have now. So today it's phone cards, postcards, pop-bys, some of the same from the first one, but then we also now have emails, newsletters, blogs. We have a lot of social media that we can reach out to people with. And then we have here in the end, we have where Adwerx falls in, and that's with digital ads. So with all of these things, how does that relate back to your sphere, and how do you build your sphere? Well, as a new broker, the first part about building your sphere is knowing who's in your sphere. So there's a lot of people that you may not realize as a new broker would be thrilled to work with you. I'm going to mention a few ideas of great, areas where you can find people. But if anyone else can think of anything that they've tried, feel free to throw that out there as well. I'm sure we have some new brokers on the call. But ideas that I've seen work are past coworkers, people that you volunteer with in your community, folks that you know from the coffee shop, friends, family, people in your chamber of commerce, Facebook contacts, neighbors, book clubs. If you're a veteran, I've met a few veterans that have used their veteran volunteer organizations to build referrals. I'm not sure if anyone else has any other great ideas, but these are just kind of ways to build a sphere for a new agent in order to connect with them. And I'll circle back around to why that's important in a few minutes. For those of you that are more veteran agents and are more established, you're more than welcome to keep building your sphere with ideas that I just suggested, but it's also important to cultivate your sphere. And I believe it's probably one of the most important things that you can do to ensure that you're still receiving referrals. So you may have a well-established sphere since you've been in the business for a while, and even though real estate is your life, some people will still forget that you're an agent. I personally don't find constant reminders of my friends that are agents to be overbearing. I think it's a great way to stay top of mind, and make sure that folks know that you are a broker. So some ideas to stay top of mind are social media, content marketing, email newsletters, event, and then once again, digital ads. I also just saw from Nancy in the chat that a way that she thinks you can build your sphere is also through PTA or other involvement with your kids, soccer, baseball, etc. So that's also a great idea, and it sounds like something firsthand that she's done. So once you have these folks, how do you organize them? So most agents that I talk to, when I ask about the sphere, I always get the response, my list is a mess. Or I have it, but I don't know what to do with it. So first off, don't panic. I've heard this from a lot of people, and you're not alone there. So maybe you have one huge list, or maybe you've put people into buckets based on your goals with them or where they are in their journey, or maybe you have a little more of an organized group, and you have several tiers of a sphere getting smaller and smaller towards a central small group, so kind of like a bullseye. Or if you're a new agent on this call who is kind of fretting about building your list, don't fear there either. Sometimes you just need a nudge or an idea of where to draw your contacts from. And that's also a question that we get a lot. So I appreciate Nancy chiming in with PTA and kids involvement. Once we have the sphere and have an idea of what it is and how to organize it, what are we going to do with it? What tools have people used? One of the tools that I've noticed, and I know I mentioned a few of these a minute ago, I've broken them apart here into in-person, at your desk, and automated. But what I want to talk about is what is the right balance of these tools? Well, we organize it by what you can do and where, and that's why I've bucketed in these ways. And there are some activities that you just have to get out and do. So those are going to be the in-persons. And there's also activities that you can just sit and do, be a little more relaxed. And then there's the automated activities that you don't have to do anything with. And so that's kind of where Adwerx comes into play. But in my opinion, if you stick with just one of these columns, it's not really going to work. It's really great to mix and match, and they really help power up each other. So in person, there aren't really any tools that I can recommend for in-person events, but I have heard of many of our Adwork customers doing some really cool things, and I wanted to share one of them. So we have one customer who is a really just a rock star when it comes to networking events. He has a huge database of local professionals around him, and he hosts networking nights at local restaurants. So at no point during these things does he even mention real estate, which is kind of crazy. But so many people find recommendations and opportunities through his event that he's become indispensable. He's kind of providing a real value to his network. Another thing that an Adwork customer does is they send out pumpkins. So I know it's fall, and this customer fills his pickup truck with pumpkins from a local farm and delivers them to his past clients. He says you can never have enough pumpkins in the fall, and people love them. There was one year where he was sick and couldn't do it. He actually got calls from people who were worried about him and wondered why they didn't get their pumpkin. So obviously, by doing that, not only is he staying top of mind, but he's also being involved in the community and kind of building that spirit. And then I actually used to live in Chicago, but now I've moved, and Adwork is in Durham, North Carolina. So we're in a fairly small town, and one of my coworkers has something that happens in their even smaller community of Pittsboro, where a real estate firm hosts a family movie event once a month in warmer weather. So it's outdoor movies in the park, and it doesn't look like the example on the slide, but it feels very much the same. So clients of the brokerage get free popcorn and treats for the kids, and because it's such a draw in the little community, other merchants promote it as well. So it's a great way to keep your sphere involved in the in-person. On to tools at your desk. So I know a lot of folks make phone calls. It takes a while. It seems like an easy one, and I know that a lot of you guys are super short on time, but obviously never overestimate the power of a quick phone call, even if it's just to check in. Facebook's also on here, and the reason that's here is because there's a lot of real engagement that happens there, but it's also incredibly easy to get lost on Facebook because it's kind of a rabbit hole. So make lists. One thing that I found that really helps is to create friends and other specific Facebook lists. Maybe one that's all family and one that's close friends, and then one that is your inner sphere. And then let that reflect how you organize your lists elsewhere. That way you can view it in a segment of connections and engagement, and you can reach out to them in a meaningful and personal way. We have another client that is really kind of a social media guru, and she kind of makes sure that she does random acts of kindness, even on social media. and she wants to just make sure that she directs and engages people in the right way. And so she's really an advocate of these lists. She says, don't go through your list and just like all the posts, but take a minute to write something. Because that comment's really a way of connecting with people and reminding them that you're paying attention and that they are important to you. And once again, all these take place at your desk. So you can do it while you're there in a coffee shop. They're kind of passive. These are the sit-down sphere tasks. So now we're going to go into the automated tools. So finally, Adwerx is up top here, and we really want to help you configure a way to automate elements of your sphere. I'm going to go into a bit deeper in a minute of how to do this. But I did also want to mention that, there's also many ways to automate your email newsletter. And that's also a great way to stay top of mind. So now on to leveraging your sphere with Adwerx. So essentially, I guess I have a little bit of bad news for you. No one's really waiting for your call or your email or to get your postcard in the mail. We did an informal survey here in the office and found out that most folks that work here, so we're in an office of about 55 people, and most people that work here know at least 3 agents. Some were a few more, and this is even outside of our Adwork contacts. And so that's why it's important to leverage your sphere, because if you're out of sight and out of mind, then you're most likely out of business. So Adwerx helps you stay in front of the people in your sphere wherever they go. So this is friends, family, past clients, local business, fellow agents, and community members. And there's no one tool for your sphere that's going to keep you top of mind for repeat and referral business, but your time, your money, and your reputation all come into play as you balance these different nurture tactics that we've talked about. Digital ads, I think, fall into the column of being easy and fast to create. Obviously, I'm a little biased there, but they're also very affordable. They're not intrusive, and it's not about getting someone on the phone or showing up to their house. And they're also, digital ads are measurable. So with that being said, let's do a quick walkthrough of how to get started. I'm sure some folks are already using our Sphere product, but for those of you that aren't, I'm going to jump into a quick demo. Now you guys can see it. Fantastic. So the way to get started with the Sphere ads here is, in your case, you guys can all go to @properties.adworks.com and you'll find this same page. I'm going to go into just our standard Adworks page here because I've actually put myself in here for demonstration purposes. So we do offer a short free trial, so you'll just click Get Started. And like I mentioned, I'm now in Durham, North Carolina. So all you're going to have to do is type in your name and then your city and state. And since we have a partnership with you guys at Properties, when you click Start here, we should find your smiling face. Hopefully you look happy in your picture. So we'll find your smiling face and the city that you're located in. These are really pretty quick and simple to get started with. For those of you that have been in our ad builder before, this is going to look very familiar. But to those of you that haven't, you can come in and edit quite a few things. So if we have your name in here and it's not quite right, you can easily update this. So I'm going to put in Edward Weigel, although only my mom has ever called me Edward. So we'll put that in here. And I'm not a real estate pro, so I help. I'm a digital ad pro. So we'll update it to that. You can also easily change your background color and make it pop a little bit here, or update your image if it's outdated a little bit. Finally, since these are going to people that already know you, I think it's really important to update this to something that's not so standard. So, you know, if you know that this sphere list that we're going to add here is a group of past clients, you could put in a more personal message here that reminds them to reach out to you. I have a few examples of what we've seen some other agents use in the past. But I like to just say, you know, buying or selling. Let's grab a coffee. It's pretty, you know, pretty quick and simple. Most folks like coffee. If not, you know, there's tea and hot chocolate at coffee shops. Just get the conversation going again. Let them know that you're around and that you want to connect. So you can also update your phone number. This is our number here at Adwerx, in case anyone needs to reach out. And you can play around with the colors a little more. One thing that I do encourage you to do is before clicking next, click here on See All Ad Sizes. What this is going to do is it's going to show you the different sizes that we have created from the one size. So now not only do you have a web ad, but you also have a Facebook ad, a web banner ad, and a mobile apps ad as well. So these will show up all over the place. So once we've done that, we'll click next. And here is where you would typically put in your broker site. It will most likely pull in automatically from the information that we receive through our partnership. But if it's not there, that's a great thing to put there. Other folks put in their Facebook page or, you know, their profile page on their website. It's important that it goes back to you and that people can take action from it. So we'll click next. And then here's the really cool part. So here's where we'll upload that list of people that, you know, that we know. And it can be either something that has been, you know, if you have a highly targeted list, this can be that really targeted list, or it can be, you know, a list of all past clients. It's really up to you how, you know, you organize that list. So another note is that it doesn't need to be arranged in any way. It can be an Excel file that literally just has that you've just thrown all these emails and phone numbers into. It doesn't need to be in columns. We're able to take it in and make sense of it. So if you don't have the time to make sense of it, don't worry about it. We don't need any formatting. So here, I'm going to click Add Contacts. And what I've done, let me take a step back here. So we do have some instructions here in case you don't have a list already. So what I did was I followed these LinkedIn instructions. I pulled all of my contacts out of my LinkedIn. So this file that I'm going to upload will be that LinkedIn file. So all you're going to do is click Upload a File of Emails. And then we will find this on my desktop here. So I have LinkedIn Connections Export. So we're going to open that up and it will load it. And so we found a little over 1,000 people on that list. So we'll click Done. If you had more contacts to add, you can either upload a separate file, you can copy and paste emails. So you could paste a bunch in here, or I'm just going to type in my Adwork email address and then save. So it found one more contact. If you have lists that are kind of all over the place and you're not sure if people are on a couple different lists, we're able to deduplicate them. So if there were overlapping emails, you know, you might see that there were 1,042 unique emails, and then, you know, that less than that were, or sorry, that 1,050, let's say, were the total uploaded, but that only 1,042 are unique. And that's because there were 8 that we deduplicated for you. So don't worry about that. It's just, it's our way of making sure that you're not doubling up on somebody. So another thing here, so obviously mine says to show this ad to contacts within 25 miles of Durham, which in my case is a good thing to do, because as I mentioned earlier, I recently moved from Chicago. So a lot of my LinkedIn contacts are in Chicago. So I really, if I were a realtor here locally in Durham, North Carolina, I wouldn't necessarily want to show all of my Chicago contacts this ad unless I knew, let's say that this were a targeted list of people that were going to be relocating. So that's as easy as it is to upload the list. And then the next thing to do here is we'll just click next, and now we are ready to get set up. So this is the standard pricing. So our partnership with Ad Properties, you guys do get a little bit of a discount here, and I am actually, my apologies, I'm blanking on what that is. So if you'll give me 1 second, I will show you all. So it is $84 a month with the Ad Properties discount, and that gets you 2,500 ad views to your sphere of influence. So once you've picked the quarterly or the annual plan, the next thing is just to enter your payment information, and then you are good to go. So once you're set up, what does it look like in the wild? That's a great question. And I'm going to go back here to the PowerPoint. Okay, so here is an ad in the wild. So once we have this list, you don't have to decide. What sites you want to put your ad on to reach your sphere. It's all about where your sphere is. So we'll use the email address and the phone number that you uploaded, and use that to locate your sphere online. And how do we do that? I mean, the fact is that we've all signed in somewhere, and so we're able to match people's phone numbers and email address back to devices in order to help show up to them in these different places. It's completely private. None of your data is shared. Your sphere is not notified when you create this campaign either. They'll just start to see your ad. And the best part is that we found out that they want to see you. They already know who you are, and they're excited to see you in these unexpected places. These digital ads have a secondary power, and that's to amplify everything else you do. If you're doing an email newsletter, your ads then help to increase open rates. If you're hosting events, these ads help to drive participation. One thing that I've seen people do is that if they are hosting an event, they will use these sphere ads in order to encourage people to attend. So rather than putting, buying or selling, let's grab a coffee, or your local expert, they'll say, event happening on this date, hope to see you. And then they'll use this to drive people maybe to an event page. Another great thing, once these are up, we have this technology that is called the quick adder. So once you've set up one of these ads, we'll give you a My Adwork email address. So once you have this up and running, you're able to use this My Adwork email address. And what this tool allows you to do is to add people to your targeting without ever logging into your account. So I personally use this before at shows. I'll get a lot of people's information, and then I will just send it to myadworks.com and say NAR fall show in the subject line, and then just list email addresses in here. And after that, those folks will start to see my ad. Another great way that I've seen it done is like down here, this example says to put it in the BCC field. And so that's great for if you've just done a listing presentation. When you follow up with, let's call them Mr. and Mrs. Smith, you follow up and say, hey, it was great to meet with you guys today. Looking forward to, getting your home listed and sold for you guys. Well, a great thing to do is to put this myadworks.com email address in the BCC field. And that way, Mr. and Mrs. Smith start to see your ads in the wild. So I mentioned that we talk about some other creative ways that I've seen people use these. One way that I've seen them used is use them online to drive offline engagement. So I know I mentioned coffee earlier. One of our clients here, Joe, he used it he tailored his message, and he says, get a cup of Joe with Joe. So it's clever, it's unique. He's able to brand it with his colors, and he has a great call to action there. The orange is eye-catching, and it's on with his brand, and when people click it, they are led to his website where they can schedule a meeting. So that's a great thing to do, is to make sure that that people can take action when they click through, as I mentioned earlier. The second ad here is from Gary Ashton, who uses Tagger the Bear to promote his real estate brand. So Tagger's the mascot for a football team in his area, and he has a campaign to give away tickets if people follow the ad that leads them to his real estate website. Once again, incorporating the real world, with the online one, and targeting his message to a unique sphere, and in this case, it's people that he knows are football fans. Another great way to use it is to share exciting news and resources. So I obviously made the example on the right very quickly earlier, and it's me, and I'm letting folks know the exciting news that I've joined at Properties. So for those of you guys that are new, either completely fresh in the industry, or maybe you're just new with At Properties, this is a great way to let people in your sphere, to let your friends and family know either, hey, I'm now your go-to source for real estate if you're new to the industry, or if you're new to At Properties. It's a great way to let your past clients know, hey, I've changed brokerages, I'm still around, still love to help you with your next home buying or selling need. And then the ad on the right is from Stephen David Elliott, and what he focuses on are referrals and reliability. So when you go to a landing page associated with his ad, it has testimonials from his customers all over the local area here in Raleigh-Durham that talk about his great service. We've also had other companies that have used our Sphere ads in a variety of ways. The one on the left here is from Marilyn Wilson and the Wave Group, and what they're using it for is to promote their webinars to try and provide more education. So the call to action here is learn more, and it's great because it's in a different kind of eye-catching color and encourages people to click on it. And on the right is KITS, which is Keep in Touch Systems, and they're offering a free trial through this, as well as including a recent reward that they'd received. So both of these companies use their ads to give as a give to the audience that they're advertising to. So what have we learned? I'm going to go over this really quickly, and then I'll open up to some questions. So hopefully today I've really been able to help determine who is your sphere of influence. So remember, it's a little different than your database. It's that next level down. So it's anyone that could potentially refer business to you. Friends, family, past clients, other referral partners. Why is that important? It's important because 66% of your business comes from your sphere of influence. And lastly, I hope that I really helped you guys realize that automated tools are an easy way to stay in front of your sphere. And on top of that, I hope that you guys have seen that Adwerx is simple to set up, fast to set up, it's affordable, and then we will stay in front of your sphere automatically. One note before I open up to questions, some of you may have received an email with a survey asking about your experience with Adwerx. So in that survey, if you fill it out, there's a drawing for three free months of Sphere. So I'm just gonna throw that out there to encourage everyone to take that survey if you want to try out the Sphere product. Okay, so now I'm happy to answer any questions that you guys may have. I've had a couple come in, and I'm gonna scroll up here and look through them really quick, and I will get to them in the order I receive them, but if anyone thinks of anything else while I'm going through these, feel free to ask. So I got a question about the specs that are needed to upload an image. Like if you wanted to switch out your photo, etc. So you can actually upload in the photo any size image, and then we'll resize it, and we have a cropper tool in there that will allow you to make it fit in the area that is available. So I also have another person that's a new agent that's asking about what if they don't have emails from past clients and that sort of thing. So as I mentioned, well, you're actually saying you have a farm list of addresses. So if you have a list of leads, this is also a great place to drop them in. It's another good way to stay in front of those people. Obviously you're probably going to reach out to them in other ways, either, via phone call or email. But this is another great way to have your face in front of them. And hopefully, if you're running these ads, then when you call them or email them, they'll say, oh, I recognize that person's name already. And they may not realize it, but they've already most likely seen your Sphere ad. Another question here about once you add your contacts, can you add more to the list at a later time? Yes, you can add folks to the list at any time. You can either go into your account and upload an additional list of emails, or as I mentioned, through the quick adder tool, you can also just email yourself a list, and that way you don't even have to log in. It'll just automatically add them. Another question here about, do we need both a phone number and email address for the Sphere contacts, or just email? So we can use either one. So you can, if you only have a phone number, if you only have an email address, you can upload either one or both, and we will match them back to their devices through either method. There's a question here as well about if the price is different, if the people in your sphere are further from Chicago. So in other words, I guess let's say if they're not in Chicago, if they're in Indianapolis or St. Louis or Milwaukee or something, no, it is the same price no matter where they are. There's a question here about uploading contacts from LinkedIn and from Contactually. Yes, you can upload from as many sources as you would like. Is there a limit on the number of emails that are included? Yes, great question. I'm sorry I didn't answer that earlier. So the number of emails here, there's a minimum. So you need to upload at least 100, and you can upload at max 5,000. So for the monthly price, it is 2,500 views. So if you're uploading 5,000 people at only 2,500 views, that means that each person, isn't actually going to see your ad every month. So I recommend trying to keep the lists around a max of 500, which I know is a big difference from 5,000. That way, each person is going to see your ad about 5 times a month or once a week, which I found is a pretty good cadence. The question about Facebook contacts emails. So currently that is not an option. Facebook, thankfully, is pretty good about keeping your data private, and so you cannot pull your Facebook contacts information currently from your Facebook in order to target them this way. Reporting, that is another thing. So when you're running these ads, if you're familiar with Adwerx, if you've run a listing with us or a zip code advertising, so you will get the same reporting that you get now, and it'll be per campaign. So if you're running a Sphere campaign, you'll receive reporting that will be impressions, clicks, and then you can do them from a daily basis, a weekly basis, or lifetime. Also with Sphere ads, since we are running to Facebook as well, you will receive an email notification anytime anyone comments on your Facebook ad. One of my coworkers, he's our head of business development, and so he runs these, and he runs them to us in the office, so we're constantly seeing his face. Even he's in California right now, but I got an ad for him this morning because he wants to, remind everyone and so that we can grab screenshots for him and that sort of thing. But he gets comments on his Facebook ads from cousins and that sort of thing, and then it's great because you get an email immediately that lets you know that somebody has commented on it, and that way you can really maintain that conversation and keep that line of communication open. There's a question here about how often you can change the ad. So while this is running, you can change or update the ad as often as you would like. Just one thing to note there is that each time that you update the ad, it does come down for a few hours, and that is because we have to reapprove it and make sure that that you haven't put anything crazy on there. I'm sure most people on this call wouldn't do that, but make sure that it's still up to the standards that the app properties would want you guys to have there. And then also we have to make sure with the ad networks that it's still clicking through to a relevant site. And so that would be if you're promoting an event or something, it's clicking through that event site. If you're promoting yourself, it's going to to your personal broker page, etc. The question about running multiple ads at the same time to the same sphere. Yes, you can do that. It would be 2 separate campaigns. You could create 2 different looks and just upload the same list to each one and run them that way. I'm continuing to scroll through here. Some of these questions I think have already been covered. My apologies. I just want to make sure that I get to all of these. There's also a question about adding 2 photos if you're a part of a team. We currently do not have it set up to do that, but I have seen teams in the past, put in a singular image that has both team members and then calling it the Weigel team if it was my team. And rather than having a first last name, so rather than it saying Ed Weigel, it would just say the Weigel team and running it that way instead. There's a question about if the presentation slides are available and will this be presented again? I was recording this, and this will be posted so you guys can watch again or share out with anybody that was not able to join today. So there's one question about editing the email list at any given time. So when you upload these emails, in order to make sure that they are completely private and that they're encrypted and secured, we actually just encrypt the whole list. So no, there's no way to go in and remove just one person or to remove 2 or 3 people. The best way to do that is to put in a couple different lists. So let's say I'm not sure if you're in the city or in the suburbs, but maybe you're targeting people by neighborhood that that they want to move into. So you could create a Logan Square list, a Lakeview list, a Ukrainian Village, a South Loop list, etc., and maybe add and remove people that way. So that's kind of a good way to get around it. And I mean, there's many other ways to go about it, but that's just one way that I would suggest, since you cannot, since they're encrypted, remove an individual email address. There is another question about having separate campaigns for different lists. Yes, that is a fantastic way to go about it. That way you could have some for folks that are wanting to relocate, some for family and friends, some for past clients. Yes, it is a great way to do it. The question, if we are on other social media programs like Instagram, we are currently not. Right now, this is just across the web, mobile, and Facebook. So there's a question here as well. If you run multiple ads with multiple campaigns, is it one price a month, or is it double the price for the month? So it would be, you would be paying for 2 ad campaigns if you're running 2 separate ones. There's also a question: is this only visible to your sphere or outside of the sphere as well? So this is only going to go to the people in your sphere that you have intentionally targeted. And that's why when I did the example, I recommended that this is more of a personalized message. That's because this is only going to go to the people that you want to see it. Okay, so I think I have made it through the list of questions. There were a couple questions on here as well about our zip code advertising and what we can do there. I would just encourage you to reach out to us. We would be happy to talk to you about zip codes. There's many different things that the zip codes can be used for. Today I was mostly wanting to do a dive into Sphere and to tell you guys how you could use that. Zip codes are a great way, just real quickly, to get in front of people in that particular zip code. So 60647 is where I used to live. I imagine a lot of you know exactly where that is. So 60647, you could purchase an ad there, and then that zip code ad will put you in front of people that have exhibited behaviors online of being interested in real estate. So what that means is that they've been on real estate portals, they've looked at mortgage calculators, they've looked at school zones, moving company quotes, that sort of thing. So people within that zip code that have shown online that they have intent to buy or sell. And so when you purchase a zip code ad, that's who we're putting you in front of. So that's kind of the quick rundown on a zip code ad. So hopefully I've I've covered all the questions. If I missed anything, I really do apologize. There was a very long list of questions, so I was trying to hit all of them, and some I feel were covered by others. So really, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to our team here at Adwerx. We do have a sales team, but we also have a support team. Our support team, we have a chat on the website for them, so you can reach out to them through the chat. You can also very easily reach out to them through email as well. So they're just support@adwerx.com. Once again, that is support@adwerx.com. And those guys are really more than happy to answer any questions that you have. And we'll make sure that, you know, if you're having any issue or not sure how to set something up, they're happy to walk you through those things. They can also be reached at our 800 number, which is 888-746-5678. And I will type that in the chat box right now just so everyone can see it. And then I'll also type in our support email address as well. All right, so you guys should have the 800 number, and then here is the support email address. So once again, I really, really appreciate everyone joining today. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day. I know everyone's quite busy. So thanks once again, and have a great day.